In today's episode, we're going to see something that is marvelous. We're going to see the love of God even toward his wayward children. We can see love quite clearly when someone obeys, but when we love the disobedient and the ones that don't love us back, that is God's love. You'll see it today in chapter 11.
Welcome to Everyday Truth with Kurt Skelly. We believe the Bible is true and relevant to everyone, everywhere, every day. If today's conversation is a help to you, take a moment to leave a review or share it with a friend. Thanks for listening. Now, let's join Kurt for today's episode.
Hey friends, going to jump right into it today because we have an entire chapter to cover, and it's a good one. Hosea chapter number 11, the Lord really gives us a picture of his heart even for disobedient children, how he loves them and how he is reluctant to chastise them. It's kind of like a parent that says to his child, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. And you're thinking, yeah, right. And yet there is so much truth to that, to know the heart of our God for his children who have wandered from him. You say, well, Kurt, I thought that the book of Hosea was an illustration of God as a faithful husband and the nation of Israel as an unfaithful wife. And that is true, but that's not the only metaphor. We've seen throughout the book that God uses any number of ways to depict the people. Sometimes he calls them like a heifer, remember that? Or he calls them like a grapevine, or other illustrations, a building. And here in Isaiah, where did that come from? Here in Hosea, chapter number 11, he speaks of his people like his child. And would you see that in verse number 1? When Israel was a child, then I loved him. Not to say that I don't love him anymore, but I'm going back in my mind's eye, says the Lord, to that tender and loving relationship I had when Israel was like a little boy. Watch this, verse number 1. And I called my son out of Egypt. Now, what's really interesting about Hosea chapter 11 and verse 1 is that this is quoted in the New Testament. Matthew quotes this about Jesus, how that Jesus as a child, after the visit from the wise men, was taken to Egypt. Remember, they warned him about Herod's diabolical plot to kill all the children 2 years of age and younger. And he went to Egypt with Joseph and Mary. And then out of Egypt, he was called to come back. And they came back not to Bethlehem, but to Nazareth. Interesting. And what I find is very interesting is that God is saying about Israel, you're like my son. I called you out of Egypt. That's a reference to when they were slaves there. And God lovingly, through Moses, redeemed them. So think of that. God uses the same wording for his only begotten son, Jesus, that he uses for this nation that has been so rebellious. What a love God has for us. Verse number 3, as they called them, so they went from them. And I think this is a reference to the prophets that speak for God, calling unto the people of God. And yet, the more that God, through his prophets, called them, the more they wandered from God. It's like the more information they got, the less faithful they were. Sometimes the people that hear of God the most grow up in Sunday school, go to that Christian school classroom all their lives, seem like the ones that wander the farthest from the Lord in some cases. And certainly that was the case here. So watch verse number 2 again. So as they called them, so they went from them, they sacrificed unto Baalim. I am in the Hebrew is always plural. So a plurality of false gods unto Baalim, and burned incense to graven images. So think of what the Lord is saying. The Lord is saying, you are like that little boy. You loved me. You followed me. He uses this same imagery in Jeremiah chapter number 2. You followed me. You trusted me. I led you by the hand. And then now you're all grown up and you don't need me anymore. Now you're all grown up and you're not following me. You're not loving me. You're not calling me. You're not visiting me. You've got new priorities. You've got new, it's the catch in the cradle, right? That's it. Look at verse number 3. I taught Ephraim also to go. And what that literally means is I taught you how to walk. I was there when you were just toddling along and just teetering, and I taught you how to walk. I taught you how to go, taking them by their arms, but they knew not that I healed them, that I was the one that fed them. I was the one that led them. I was the one that supplied for them. Is this, hey, I led you, I fed you, I taught you. You were my little toddler. I took you as a child. I rescued you. I helped you. And the implication here is, and what? What has happened? Verse number 4, I drew them with cords of a man, with bands of love. Scholars differ on the illustration here. Some would say this refers to the way children would, almost like with a daycare rope, be led by their parents, like with a rope to lead them along. Or that this would refer to leading an animal, like you lead an animal with a rope, and just if the animal is submissive, if the animal trusts its master, it goes without being yanked and tugged and strangled and all those. I drew you with cords of a man, with bands of love. It was a gentle and loving relationship. Verse number 4, and I was to them as they that take off the yoke on their jaws. I laid meat unto them. I stooped down and fed you like I would feed an animal. I took the heavy yoke off of you. I was good to you. I'm a good master. I'm a good owner. I'm a good God. And yet what have you done in response to my goodness? That's where the passage is leading. God is going down memory lane. And God is saying, I've been so good. I've been so loving. I've been so kind. Take a moment. Take a moment right now and think about how good has God been to you? How gentle and loving has God been to you? Think about your salvation experience. Think about the goodness that he's rendered to your life. Think about it. Now, we could all talk about bad times, but let's think about it. And so God takes them down this memory lane of blessing. Verse number 5, he shall not return into the land of Egypt. Oh, God's not going to send you back. God's not going to take you back to the place where he bought you and trade you back in and say, hey, listen, is the warranty up yet? I want to, take this. No. He's not going to send you back to Egypt, but watch this. But the Assyrian shall be his king, because they refused to return. No, God says, I'm going to allow a judgment in your life for the way that you have wandered from me. You've made choices. You've stepped outside of my protection. You have ignored my warnings. And now, as I have said, message by message, in all the chapters we've talked about thus far, the Assyrian will be your punishment. Look at verse number 6. And the sword shall abide on his cities, and shall consume his branches, and devour them because of their own counsels. No, and you're going to pay dearly for the decisions you've made. And the decisions you've made that you have sought advice for. You have followed the counsel of your priests, but they weren't following me. Or your prophets, but they weren't speaking for me. Or your kings, but they weren't serving under my authority and my leadership. No, you're going to pay dearly for the decisions you made, and you can't blame it on the advice you received, because you should have known Verse number 7. And my people, this is the saddest verse of the chapter, and I really want you to hear it. Verse number 7. And my people are bent to backsliding from me. Think about that statement. My people are bent to backsliding. They have a predisposition to backsliding. I mean, this is kind of their default setting. Backslide, backslide, backslide. But that's a tough place to be. That's kind of like that's just my character, is I don't follow the Lord. I'm given opportunities. I might take one step forward, but I'm going to take 2 steps back. I'm bent to backslide. God says, you have done this so often, so repetitively, that this has become your mantra. This has become your bent. This is the shape you're in. Verse number 8, God asks the rhetorical question, how shall I give thee up, Ephraim? So we're seeing a little snippet of the heart of God here. And God's saying, how can I give you up? You're wandering from me. I have to allow this chastisement in your life. You're going to be taken out of the land and the blessings I've given you. Oh, how I hate this. You know, God's not up in heaven rubbing his hands together saying, I can't wait to get them. I can't wait to show them. They'll see that I'm God. Now, there's no vindictiveness in that human sense. No, this is foreign to the heart of God. He loves his people. How shall I give thee up, Ephraim? How shall I deliver thee, Israel? How shall I make thee as Admah? How shall I set thee as Zeboim? Mine heart is turned within me. My repentings are kindled together. This is tearing me up, is the way we would say this. Now, what are the cities of Admah and Zeboim? What are those cities? Well, if you read the account in the book of Deuteronomy, you'll read that in the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, there were some other lesser known cities that were destroyed too, almost like collateral damage. And that's what the Bible's talking about here. It's like, I don't want you to be collateral damage. I don't want you to have to pay this huge price for your sin, but you've left me no alternative. Look at verse number 9. I will not execute the fierceness of mine anger. I will not return to destroy Ephraim, for I'm God and not man. In other words, God says, I'm not just going to wipe you out and say, I forget about you forever. That's what a man would do. That's a man-shaped vengeance. I'm just going to get rid of you. God said, that's not my heart. My heart is always one of love and chastisement, not one of punishment and vindictiveness. I'm God, not man. The Holy One in the midst of thee, I will not enter into the city. I'm not going to make a full destruction. They shall walk after the Lord. So here's the promise that God gives. They shall walk after the Lord. He shall roar like a lion. When he shall roar, then the children shall tremble from the west. They shall tremble as a bird out of Egypt, as a dove out of the land of Assyria. And I will place them in their houses, saith the Lord. Ephraim compasseth me about with lies, and the house of Israel with deceit. But Judah yet ruleth with God, and is faithful with the saints. What is God saying in these last few verses? He's saying there's coming a day when God will roar like a lion, and all of these displaced, chastised people that are in captivity, they'll come back. God is predicting the future gathering of Israel and saying there's coming a day when the lion, that's Jesus, the lion of the tribe of Judah, will rule and reign and set down Antichrist and set up kingdom in Jerusalem, and to a regathered people that will see Jesus for who he is. Yeah, there is coming a time of regathering. But what is the current status? Verse number 12. The current status is, Ephraim compasseth me about with lies. All I see in Israel is a deceitful people. The house of Israel with deceit. But Judah, remember the southern kingdom? But Judah yet ruleth with God and is faithful with the saints. So while all of this was happening in the northern kingdom, there were some embers of hope down south under a few and far between good kings that staved off judgment for yet another couple generations. We'll talk about that at a later date. So a lot to think about, Hebrews chapter 11, but the main thing is this: God loves you. And if you're experiencing God's spankings today, his chastisement, that in itself is a measure of love. And know that God could just wipe us off the face of the earth, but he loves us and chastises us in time so that ultimately he can bring us back and demonstrate forever his covenant love to us. That's it for today. We'll jump into chapter number 12 next episode. Hope you'll join us. God bless you, my friends.